Hi, I'm Alan and I'm data manager here at PLANTPOPNET, and I'm just going to give you a quick overview of the current state of the data set. So if we look back to March of this year, which was the last big update that we have 64 sites with 1 year of data down to 2 sites with 7 years of data. So of these 64, they could have joined the network at any stage between 2014 and 2020. So it's expected that the numbers down here at 6 and 7 years of data would be considerably smaller. But you can see that we have 55 sites with 2 years and over 40 sites with 3 years of data. So it's an incredible effort. And back in 2014, 2015, when we envisioned the network, the goal was to get over 30 sites. So we have definitely achieved one of the original objectives, which is just, it's incredible effort by everyone involved so far. If we look at the current levels, you can see some marginal increases. So there's 1 or 2 sites every year, or an increase of 1 or 2 sites every year. With 7 in total. So these are just data sets that have been submitted over the course of this summer and added to the repository. In a lot of cases, though, there's a lag in the numbers. So these can be due to delays in the data collection process. It's obviously time consuming to do fieldwork, to digitize data, to submit, and there can be backlogs at any stage of the cleaning process, and add that to the stresses of working during a global pandemic have not eased the situation. So if you look at this projected column, you might remember back in February or March of this year, we polled the site coordinators for updates on their sites to the end of December 2020. So these figures here on the left-hand side of this column are the numbers which have been confirmed to us that a census has been recorded. So you can see straight away we should have 66 sites in our repository. We have 64, but these 2 were sites that started in 2020. So we'll kind of just ignore these for the moment. They're the new sites. But if you look at the rest of the figures in brackets, these are the differences between what was projected and confirmed to us and the current levels in the data set. So you can see there are still 13 sites which have been recorded, and you can see some are going back quite a number of years. And yeah, these have been collected, and a lot of effort has gone into this collection, and the data is still not in our repository. So I would, at this point, ask everyone if they were polled back in March of this year and they confirmed to us that they would send data and haven't done so yet, just to please send it to us as soon as possible, so we can get these added to the repository. I only stress this point because these numbers in brackets back in March, these numbers in brackets for years 5 and 6 were plus 13 and plus 10. So a considerable effort did go in from people back in March, and we added a lot of data in this March update. So just if we look at how the network has grown over the years, you can see it was formed kind of 2014, 2015 is when it really kicked off. So there were 3 kind of pilot sites in 2014. The protocol was finalized and then advertised in 2015, and you see that the majority of sites joined the network in either 2015 or 16. And then we've had quite a kind of consistent level of sites joining the network over the last 4 years. And actually it was great to see 5 sites joining in 2020, given ultimately what happened. But unfortunately, over time, sites obviously have to stop recording for whatever reason. So if we look at this table, which is from the PLANTPOPNET methods paper, which will hopefully be published either the end of this year, well, submitted the end of this year or early next year. One of the biggest challenges to a network like this, obviously, is longevity. To date, of the 64 sites in the data set, 22 have ceased sampling completely, leaving 44 active sites. So you can see the reasons listed in the table here. Ecological reasons actually only account for just 4 of those 22. So you can see 3 mass mortality reasons here. Sorry, it's unclear what caused the mass mortality, but obviously the site PIs returned to sample and there were no individuals in their transects left. We had one recently, which again was a mass mortality event, and it was caused by other animal actions. So yeah, the majority of stoppages in sites have been from anthropogenic reasons, with kind of change in circumstances being the biggest one, either people moving jobs or landowners revoking access, or selling on land, or land being constructed on it. And then a couple of instances of insufficient resources, which are obviously understandable given the nature of the work. But I guess it's quite refreshing to see that insufficient resources has only occurred a couple of times, which, I mean, we hope that the protocol is designed in a way that it can be done with minimal resources, and this kind of confirms it. We estimate that the COVID pandemic was responsible for 7 sites being unable to sample in 2020. 4 of those 7 have confirmed to have stopped completely as a result. And then the other 3 could not sample in 2020. We expect that total of 7 to rise in 2021 as Northern Hemisphere field season is kind of over now, and we'll find out soon, hopefully, who has not managed to sample again due to the pandemic. And the Southern Hemisphere field season is approaching, and we obviously expect that to be impacted in some way. So yeah, we'd imagine that figure of 7 will rise come the end of this year. But so far, we estimate here that 729 person days have gone into data collection so far. And by data collection, we just mean fieldwork and digitization. So if you base that on a working year of 280 days, that's 2.6 years of person day work gone into collecting the data set. And then based on those similar numbers, we estimate that almost 4 years has gone into data creation of the network so far. So that just gives you an indication of the scale of it to date. If we go back to our data collection and cleaning protocol, I'll give you an overview of what kind of goes into those nearly 6 years of person work. You obviously have on this side your data entry, so data sheets are collected in the field or people record in whatever manner suits them best. Data is digitized, and then this data is stored as a raw data object in our data repository. So this raw data is not touched, it is stored exactly as it is sent to us. We then do a basic cleaning of this data, which is basically involves just kind of simple structure and formatting changes into a master data object, which is again stored in a data repository. And this is just stored in this way to enable us then to run the rest of our cleaning protocol. So all of the master files are then compiled into one large data object, which is passed through a cleaning markdown. Our cleaning markdown pulls in a load of cleaning scripts, which we developed a couple of years ago, and the data set is cleaned as a whole and then exported as the clean version of our master data, and this is archived as soon as that's cleaned. Going back to the cleaning scripts, we developed these scripts in a working group, and one of the benefits of doing it this way was that we each authored scripts to clean certain elements of the data set, and then these scripts were passed around to non-authoring members of the work group, and so the cleaning scripts were peer-reviewed. And then post the data clean, we run a data audit. So these clean data files are passed through another script which compares them back to the master data and outputs any changes in the data set. So it gives us a clear answer straight away of what changes have been made during the cleaning process. The benefit of doing it this way is that it adds an extra step and it adds a little bit more time, but it gives one extra kind of feedback loop in the data cleaning process, and it allows us to record any of the changes made to data either in annotations in the scripts or as the output of the audit process. And these outputs are then included in the metadata file, which comes along with each standard data product, which are the final exports of the cleaning process. And again, these standard data products are version archived as the data sets increase. To give you an idea then of the data products timeline, the year 0 to years 3, so year 0, 1, 2, and 3 are available to network participants now. The year 0 data set will be published and made available to the public with the methods paper when that is published. And going forward, we have decided that we will run quarterly updates of the data sets, just because data tends to kind of either filter in kind of one every so often, or kind of around the end of the northern and some southern hemisphere field seasons, you might get one big large chunk in one go. So moving forward, we will run quarterly updates in kind of March, July, September, and December end of year. So version 1.1 of year 1, year 2, and year 3 will be updated at the end of September 2021. So I'll finish with just a quick introduction of how to access the data. So you can access the data by going to this website. It's www.plantpopnet.com. So if you open up plantpopnet.com, you'll see this page. You go to data, type in your email address. If you need the password, you email core@plantpopnet.com and ask for the password, and someone will reply with whatever the current password is. In this case, you click submit and you'll be presented with this box. If you click this window, I think sometimes with the Google Share settings, it doesn't open properly. So just make sure you right click and open a new window, and you will be presented with a shared Google folder. So you can see in this folder, we have our standard data products. So inside you have PLANTPOPNET year 0 and the corresponding metadata for the year 0. If you go back, here's the inventory of the current abstracts and their kind of state of progress. You see the authorship guidelines. We have a climate data set, which is just WorldClim variables based on the coordinates of all our PLANTPOPNET sites. You have an inventory of data sets, so that will tell you what's available. And if anything isn't in the standard data products folder, you can contact core@plantpopnet.com and they'll be made available. And then just a README file to demonstrate or to tell you what contents should be in this folder. And I'll be happy to answer any questions in the question session. Thank you very much.